She banned mirrors in her salon and told her customers to stay silent. Then one woman laughed and the salon never recovered. Find out what happens in this epic tale of Uloma the Braider. Madame Uloma's salon did not announce itself with bright colors or loud music like the others along the Onitsha main road. While nearby salons blasted Afrobeats and shouted prices at passers-by, Silent Hand's beauty parlor sat quietly between a phone repair shop and a frozen food store, its signboard faded, almost apologetic. Yet women stopped. They slowed down. They stared. Because inside, through the open doorway, they saw something unnatural. They saw speed. Uloma stood behind a seated customer, her hands moving so fast they blurred, fingers flying through thick hair without combs, without struggle, without pain. Braids appeared as though they were being summoned, not made. The customer did not flinch, did not talk, did not even blink. When Uloma finished, barely 5 minutes had passed. The woman stood up slowly, as if waking from a trance, paid without bargaining, and walked out. That was how the rumors began. Inside the salon, the air felt heavy, like rain about to fall. The walls were bare, no hairstyle posters, no mirrors, no motivational quotes. Only one large wooden board hung directly opposite the entrance. It was impossible to miss. Written in thick, deliberate black paint were 3 rules. No talking. No phones. No mirrors. Women read the rules twice. Some laughed nervously. Some hesitated. But the line outside kept growing, and speed had become a currency more valuable than comfort. Uloma watched them all with unreadable eyes. She was tall, dark-skinned, and always dressed in black wrapper, black blouse, black headscarf tied tightly around her head. Her face was sharp, serious, almost carved from stone. When she spoke, which was rarely, her voice was low and dry, like something unused. Before the salon, Uloma had been nothing. 4 years, she braided hair slowly, carefully, the old-fashioned way. She believed good work would speak for itself. But good work meant nothing in a world of ring lights, TikTok videos, and 5-minute transformations. Younger girls took her customers. Hunger followed her home. Shame sat beside her at night. She had cried until tears stopped coming. That was when she went to the river shrine. The dibia did not smile at her desperation. He examined her hands for a long time, turning them over, pressing her palms. "These hands are ordinary," he said. "And ordinary does not survive anymore." Uloma begged. So he gave her a choice. Speed, but not free. The fetish required absolute silence. Spirits that lived between moments, too fast to be seen, too restless to be heard. They would braid through her hands if fed what they loved most, quiet. He gave her dried bat wings, black thread soaked in palm oil and chalk, and ashes from burnt mirrors. He warned her. If silence breaks, control breaks. Uloma agreed. On the day she opened the salon, she covered the windows, removed every mirror, and wrote the rules herself. Each stroke of paint felt like a vow. By noon, the salon was full. By evening, people were whispering outside, but never inside. Silence had become her power, and speed had made her relevant. Uloma's hands were no longer hers. That was the truth she avoided every morning when she wrapped the black thread around her wrists and tied it tight. The thread bit into her skin, leaving marks that never fully healed. As she tied it, she whispered the chant the dibia taught her, soft, precise words meant to invite what could not be seen. The moment the first customer sat, the salon changed. The air thickened. The silence deepened. Uloma's fingers moved before her mind could catch up. They parted hair perfectly, pulled strands into neat sections, braided faster than sight. Customers often felt a strange coldness travel from their scalp down their spine, but none dared react. Talking was forbidden. Silence was law. Women sat rigid, eyes forward, hands clenched in their laps. Even children stopped crying once inside. Phones died mysteriously. Coughs turned into swallowed gasps. And beneath the silence, there was something else. A faint sound like breathing that didn't belong to anyone present. Uloma felt it most strongly. When the salon was full, her hands grew lighter, faster. When silence was perfect, she barely felt herself working at all. It was like standing in a river and letting the current carry her arms. The fame came quickly. Videos leaked. 5-minute braids. The silent salon. No pain, no stress. Influencers arrived, then radio hosts. Women traveled from far places, begging for appointments. Uloma should have been happy. Instead, she stopped sleeping. At night, her hands moved on their own. They braided the bedsheets, twisted her nightdress, clawed at the air. Sometimes she woke up standing, fingers working furiously with no hair to hold. Her dreams were worse. Endless women sat before her, heads bowed, mouths open but soundless. Half-finished hairstyles stretched into infinity. And always, the spirit stood behind her, faceless, impatient. The fetish wanted more. One afternoon, a girl named Chiamaka entered the salon. She was young, restless, loud even when she tried not to be. Her foot tapped against the floor. She chewed gum loudly. Uloma felt the spirits tense. As she braided, Chiamaka leaned forward and whispered, "So all this silence is for show, abi?" The word barely escaped her lips. Pain exploded through Uloma's wrists. The black thread burned like fire. Her fingers slowed for the first time since the fetish began. The air shook. Chiamaka laughed. That was the breaking point. The braids tightened suddenly, violently. Chiamaka's head snapped back. Her mouth opened in a scream, but no sound came out. Her eyes bulged in terror as her body stiffened. Uloma finished the hairstyle. When Chiamaka stood, she was mute. Her eyes were empty, as though something had been scooped out and never replaced. She walked out silently. No one followed her. The salon remained full. Uloma said nothing. She could feel the spirits smiling. By the third month, Uloma was no longer just popular, she was untouchable. Women waited overnight. Prices tripled. Still, they came. Silence was no longer strange, it was respected. Customers hissed at anyone who shifted too loudly. Fear had trained them well. But the fetish was changing. The spirits were no longer satisfied with silence alone. They demanded obedience, devotion, and consequences. Uloma noticed it first in small ways. A woman sneezed once. That night, her braids tightened until her scalp bled. Another woman answered her phone outside the salon. By morning, her hair lay on her pillow in clumps. Uloma began enforcing the rules ruthlessly. Anyone who broke them was banned, or worse. She no longer argued with the spirits. She negotiated only enough to keep working. But speed steals time. Uloma's reflection began avoiding her. When she accidentally passed a mirror outside, her image lagged behind her movements, smiling when she wasn't. Her voice cracked when she tried to speak. Sometimes she forgot simple words. She returned to the dibia, desperate. "You have borrowed too much," he said. "Speed must be repaid." Uloma tried to stop. One night, she skipped the ritual. The next day, her hands trembled uncontrollably. Braids loosened. Customers murmured angrily. Fear flooded her chest, not of the spirits, but of irrelevance. That night, she doubled the ritual. She added more bat wings. More ash. More silence. The spirits came back stronger than ever. And Uloma understood too late. She was no longer the one in control. The day everything unraveled began like any other. The sun cast long shadows across Onitsha's dusty streets, but inside Silent Hand's beauty parlor, the air was thick, heavy with the familiar mix of burnt ash, black thread, and palm oil. Customers sat in neat rows, hands folded, eyes fixed straight ahead. Not a whisper, not a cough, silence ruled. Uloma's hands moved faster than ever. Hair parted, twisted, and braided perfectly, as if invisible spirits guided her fingers. She murmured the chant softly, her voice barely audible, calling on the batwing threads and ashes to lend her speed. The salon was full, but something felt different today, tighter, more oppressive. A woman named Ngozi, restless all morning, accidentally nudged her chair. It scraped softly against the tile, A tiny sound, but enough. Uloma's wrists burned. The spirits were stirred. Then it happened. A sharp laugh escaped Ngozi's lips. One small, defiant sound. Immediately, hair began to move on its own. Braids twisted violently, coiling around arms, necks, and chairs. Women tried to scream, but no sound came out. Even the faintest protest was silenced. Uloma's heart raced. She whispered faster, louder, frantic, but the spirits were angry. The strands seemed alive, pulling tighter, tangling themselves into impossible knots. Chairs tipped, bodies stiffened, hands clenched involuntarily. Sweat drenched Uloma's back, and the familiar scent of ashen bat wings became acrid, choking her. Her own hair began to move, wrapping around her wrists like black snakes. She knew the warning well now. Silence was not just power. Silence was survival. Minutes later, the chaos subsided. Hair settled unnaturally, women sat frozen and pale, eyes wide, mouths open in silent terror. Ngozi, the instigator, stared straight ahead, mute and stiff. Uloma sank to her knees, hands trembling, whispering a desperate prayer. The salon was quiet again, but the silence now felt heavy, oppressive. She understood fully. Speed and popularity were blessings paid with obedience, and disobedience came at a terrifying cost. The next morning, neighbors noticed something wrong. The salon door was locked. Customers' shoes were still outside. Inside, silhouettes pressed against the frosted glass. Police forced the door open. Inside, the women sat frozen mid-style, heads half-braided, mouths open, eyes wide. Hair wrapped tightly around fingers, chairs, necks. Uloma was nowhere to be found. The mirrors, though none were kept inside, were cracked. The salon was sealed. But people swear that if you pass by late at night, you hear the faint sound of braiding. Fast. Very fast. Years later, a new stylist rented the space. She ignored the stories. On opening day, she painted over the old rules. That night, her hands wouldn't stop moving. By morning, a new board appeared on the wall, written in black ink. No talking. No phones. No mirrors. And somewhere in the silence, Madame Uloma smiled.